You can get your Detective Pikachu stuff at Amazon at the link in the description down below, so this way you can get it from the comfort of your own home. Pokemon, Kaiju, Dragon Ball, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hey there, collectors! Happy Figure Friday to ya. Today it's something a little special here over on STR. Why? Well, we have the very first live-action Pokemon movie opening up this weekend in the United States, and what better way to celebrate Detective Pikachu than a review of all of the Detective Pikachu figures from Wicked Cool Toys. That's right, we're taking a look at both Pikachus, we're taking a look at Psyduck, we are taking a look at Bulbasaur, Ludicolo, Mr. Mime, and Mewtwo. Yep, the whole shebang. Now, you would think that something like this would be somewhere in the more affordable range of maybe $25 for them all. Well, I'll break down the price for you in just a second. Wicked Cool Toys does not have the best track record for quality control issues with their mainline Pokemon stuff, so how does this all stack up? Well, let's take a look to see whether or not it's all worth adding into your collection. First and foremost, before we start the review formally, I just want to tell you about how these guys are all packaged. There are a whole bunch of packs available at retail, and then there's this multi-figure pack. This multi-figure pack includes 2 Pikachu in different poses, Bulbasaur, Psyduck, Ludicolo, and Mewtwo. Now, this is a nice window display. We see them all in neat, fun poses. It looks great. On the back of the box, we just can see some promotional stuff for Detective Pikachu. And on the left-hand side, we have a breakdown of what's available at retail. Now, if you take a close look, it actually shows you how everything's packed up, such as what Pikachu is with what other figure, and that Mewtwo and Mr. Mime are standalone here. Now, notice I did not mention Mr. Mime in this box set. And notice that Ludicolo is not here amongst what you can buy at retail. That's right, Ludicolo is exclusive to this box set. Likewise, Mr. Mime is exclusive to a single carded release. So, if you're not paying close attention to what you're actually buying, you may end up with an extra Mewtwo or an extra Pikachu and Bulbasaur and this box set if you wanna catch them all. But Mr. Mime, unless you buy 2 of them, you won't end up with 2 of them. But this is a good example, so this way I can show you kind of what the packaging design is for the single carded releases. Or the 2-pack releases, you know what I mean. Here's one of the drawbacks, though. This gigantic box set that features 6 figures, $29.99. Single carded releases, $6.99. If you want to get everything in one fell swoop, you are looking at nearly $40. Ow. So normally for my reviews, what I like to do is I like to break everything down section by section, and if I'm doing multiple figures in a review, I'll talk about them each specifically, individually, and highlight the pros and the cons of each of them. But I think it's safe to say here for these releases that they all basically have the same pros and cons in common, with the exception being of the one happy waving Pikachu having a glue bubble at the base of his tail. Otherwise, well, pretty much everything is kinda down the middle for what you should expect from one figure to the next, with the bigger figures having something that's a little different, and we'll talk about that in the articulation section. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm just going to talk about everything in summation, and I'm going to have the 360 spin views along with some close-up shots to tell you a little bit more about what I'm talking about with some examples. So overall, what I think Wicked Cool Toys really did here was provide folks with some interesting redesigns from the Detective Pikachu movie, which we're going to be seeing on the big screen this weekend, in that sort of realistic format. Now, in the sort of action figure way and plastic form, I think they did a relatively good job. One issue that Wicked Cool Toys has been struggling with their mainline Pokemon stuff is that they haven't necessarily been hitting the MSRP worth for what they are releasing, meaning they may release a $10 figure at retail, but is it actually worth $10? The answer has been no so far. Here, yeah, they've really been missing that mark. For, what is it, $6.99 for Mr. Mime? There are unfortunately some paint issues here, which really I don't think should be present here for something that's going to be $7. Yeah, it's small. Yeah, it's just one off, one sculpt, not really going to be reused, only for this promotional time period of the movie, and probably will never see the light of day again. But still, come on, we can make it at least look a little nicer without some extra shadings of blue here and there. Or maybe we can actually get Psyduck to stand up instead of me having to use a Tamashii stage arm, so this way it can actually hold balance. We do have a couple of random black streaks here or there on the figures, which actually kind of looks like hair. Not necessarily the best, but you know what? I've been rather negative so far. Let's talk about the positives. Well, for the positives, they really, truly did capture that realistic detail, and I don't think a lot of folks are really going to notice this just because of some of the paint apps or lack thereof on these figures. Obviously, for some figures like Ludicolo or even Mewtwo with the extremely well-defined abs, we are going to see some more of those really realistic features of these Pokemon, which they've never had before throughout the history of the franchise. But if you take a closer look, we can definitely see some of the feathering on Psyduck. We can see the fur on Pikachu. That's clear. But on Pokemon like Bulbasaur here, we gotta take a real close look, but we can actually see some scales there. So even though the paint may not necessarily be the best on these figures, they at least went the extra mile to make sure that the sculpt was up to par, and they did capture that realistic aspect, which we will be seeing on the screen. Now, the last big detail I want to note that I think, regardless of price, Wicked Cool Toys could have at least done is on the neutral pose Pikachu, there is a different yellow plastic used for the head than there is for the body. Come on, guys. So overall, for the way these things are sculpted and painted, these things are great. Paint, Now, I did make mention before that there was something different about the larger figures, and that is articulation. Ludicolo, Mr. Mime, and Mewtwo all feature swivels, though they are pretty basic. Ludicolo is going to feature them at his shoulders. Mr. Mime is going to feature them at the shoulders and at the hips. Those little red orbs at the hips, those are going to be able to spin around. Mewtwo features them at the shoulders, at the hips, and then halfway at the tail mark. So this is nice that we actually have some articulation, even if realistically speaking, we can't really do too much for it, but if you're a youngin', hey, you got some cool stuff that moves. Now we're going to go ahead and round out this review with a size comparison with some other figures you might have, whether it's going to be import figures, which are going to cost about as much as everything you see here, or with maybe some other Pokemon stuff you have and you just want to go ahead and blend everything in together. As you can clearly see here, the larger Pokemon like Mewtwo, Ludicolo, Mr. Mime, they don't really work here. But I can definitely tell you that Bulbasaur, which I'm really loving the design for all of the starters in the movie that we've seen so far, yep, that is definitely going on my shelf. Very nice scale there. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Wicked Cool Toys did a fantastic job at capturing that new design that a lot of these Pokemon are going to have in the movie, but unfortunately when it comes to paint, they really missed the mark here, which is not surprising given some of the previously released Pokemon items they have made. There are also a couple of small issues here and there, like the fact that Psyduck does not have the ability to stand up despite the fact that it is posed on one foot, and one of my Pikachus has a, he's got a glue bubble at the base of his tail. Probably an isolated incident, but still, something like that, maybe that's something that could have been caught at the factory. Overall, these things definitely do not come out to a $40 set. I'm factoring everything in here from MSRP and tax, and you get everything. I really do think closer to $30 for everything would be nice, but they're promotional items aimed at a younger audience. Not necessarily meant for collectors who are going to be like, ooh, cool, new stuff. Nope. This is basically probably going to be for mom and dad who are going to have little Joey or maybe little Lass who are going to stomp their feet so this way they can get the newest Pokemon stuff and they're going to buy it and overpay. Overall, if you're looking for the newest Pokemon stuff, maybe you can steer away from this. Get something like an Endoroid, but yeah, they're pretty good. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.